Hey y'all, welcome back for another hunting ammo ballistics gel test. More 708. We've got Hornady Superformance, their 139 grain SST load. And here is your box for that Hornady Superformance 139 grain SST load out of the 7mm-08. Let's flip it around to the back. Here is your promo info. Feel free to stop, pause, and read that if you would like. And as I always say, Superformance's claim to fame is 1 to 200 feet per second faster than standard ammo. We'll see how close we get to that. Let's take a look at velocity. Muzzle velocity is stated at 2,950 feet per second. That is pretty darn quick for 7mm-08, especially a 139 grain bullet. Let's go ahead. Whoop, there goes that one. Let's whip one out and take a look. And there it is, your classic 139 grain SST bullet. Let's go shoot it and see how it does. And my test rifle today is my Ruger American Gen 2, chambered in 7mm-08, of course. It's got a 20-inch barrel, and we are taking advantage of that threaded muzzle. Up top, we've got a Vortex Diamondback scope, and I've got it in my own custom painted Gen 1 stock. And coming on back, I've got to show you one of my handmade leather cartridge cuffs. Check out my website, masonleather.com, to get yourself one. I would love to make you one. And I've also got one of my super thick Latigo leather slings here, also available on my website, masonleather.com. If you're looking for a leather sling that'll last a lifetime, you're going to want to check these out. And coming around to the other side, I've got to show you my whitetail deer design.
We'll be taking 3 shots from 100 yards, firing into 10% ballistics gel that has been calibrated to meet the FBI's ballistics testing protocol. And while ballistics gel isn't an exact proxy for big game, it does provide a repeatable medium through which to test various bullets and ammo against each other. After the shots, we'll examine bullet expansion, weight retention, penetration, and velocity. My goal is to provide hunters like you and I with the most objective information possible to help us make the best choice for our particular hunting situation. The ballistics gel in this video has been sourced from Clear Ballistics. You can find a link in the description.
So let's go ahead and shoot it. And here are your velocities for that Hornady Superformance 139 grain SST load out of the 708. Minimum 28.28, maximum 28.39 for an average of 28.34. That's a tight spread if nothing else. And a quick announcement, if you'd like early access to my videos weeks and even months in advance of everyone else, become a channel member. The links will be in the video description and the pinned comment. Thanks, y'all. And we are down here at the blocks after shooting that Hornady Superformance 139 grain SST load from the 7mm-08. We captured all 3 bullets, and all 3 of them look really, really nice. They mushroomed well. It seems like they held together for the most part. Penetration was decent, about what I would expect from an SST, so, definitely not disappointed there. Coming on back, the wound tracks are pretty nasty. Very rapid expansion starting as soon as they enter the block. Coming on back, the wound track starts to taper off at about the 10 to 11 inch mark. But before that, I mean, look at that. That's a nasty wound track. 1, 2, and then the third one is down underneath. Over here on the side, you can kind of see one of the wound tracks a lot better. So anyway, good stuff as far as terminal performance up front. And then penetration wise, looks like we got 18.5, 19, and then 19.5 inches respectively. That's about what I would expect from an SST. Super shock tip. It's going to open up rapidly, probably not go super deep. I think these did pretty well. Let's dig them out and see what they look like. And real quick, if you're watching this video anytime around when it came out, I'm having a huge sale on my website, masonleather.com. Go check it out and get yourself something. All right, y'all, we've got the bullets out of the blocks. Let's go ahead and take a look at them. Those Hornady Superformance 139 grain SSTs. Weight retention. Well, first, before we get going, I want to preface, these things did exactly what I would expect SSTs to do. So stay tuned and listen to everything. This is how an SST is supposed to perform. Weight retention, 90, 95, and 96 grains for an average of 94 grains retained weight. Very consistent. That's 67% weight retention. So the bullets shed 33%, basically exactly 1/3 of their weight. Created some shrapnel damage, nasty wound channel up front. But the bulk of the bullet, 2/3 of the bullet, still penetrated on through. Now this is less weight retention than a lot of other bullet styles, but it's an SST, a super shock tip. You expect this. This is what it's supposed to do, and that's what it did. Create somewhat of a shrapnel effect, but still penetrates through with the main mass of the bullet. Expansion 0.58, 0.6, and 0.7 inches for an average of 0.63 inches expanded diameter, and that's 2.2x expansion. And just look at the photo of these bullets. They're fairly concentric, nice and circular all the way around. They flattened out nicely and kept on penetrating through. They're going to make some nasty wound tracks. Very pleased with the expansion. And on to velocity. Our high velocity was 2840, our low was 2829, so a very tight spread there, for an average of 2835 versus the factory spec velocity of 2950. So we did come in 115 feet per second slower than the factory build velocity, but remember we're shooting this out of a 20-inch barreled rifle. I don't have a 22 or a 24-inch barreled 7/08. I have to use what I have. No one's sending me this stuff. This is all out of my own pocket. So that said, what I've done is I've tested 19 different 7/08 loads so far out of this same rifle. Not all those videos are out yet, but I have all the data. And I looked at all the velocities for all those ammos to see what is sort of, in the typical range and what is outside of it in terms of faster or slower. And this ammo is in that typical range. It compares favorably to other ammos in 7/08 I've tested out of the same rifle. So it's not particularly slow, is what I'm trying to say. It's similar to other loads. So I'm happy with the velocity. And if you got a 24-inch barrel, more power to you, you're going to get some more foot per second. And our estimated impact velocity down there at 100 yards would be about 2,608 feet per second. On to penetration. We got 18.5, 19, and 19.5 inches for an average of 19 inches of penetration. Very consistent, very close to the 20-inch mark I like to see for medium game hunting ammo. Right on the cusp of that. This is about what I would expect an SST to do. Do a big mess up front and penetrate deep enough to get the job done on most of your medium game, especially whitetail deer, especially smaller whitetail deer. So for what these are, I'm very happy with the penetration. And on to kinetic energy, with a 139 grain bullet going on average 2,835 feet per second, we're looking at 2,480 foot-pounds at the muzzle and 2,099 foot-pounds down there at 100 yards. And if I'm not mistaken, I think this is the second most powerful in terms of kinetic energy 7mm-08 load that I've tested. The most powerful being the Hornady Superformance 139 grain CX load. That bullet was going just a little faster. So the kinetic energy on this is great. All right, y'all, it's time for my final thoughts on that Hornady Superformance 139 grain SST load out of the 7mm-08. I think it hit all the marks. It did exactly what I would expect an SST bullet of this weight and this caliber to do. Weight retention, 2/3 of the bullet was still there, 1/3 fragmented up. That's what it's supposed to do. I'm happy with it. Expansion, 2.2x, very good for what's left of those bullets. Velocity, the stuff was within the range of most other 7/08 loads. Very pleased there. And penetration, it's right there inching up to the 20-inch mark I like to see. Considering the type of bullet that it is and what it's supposed to do and designed to do, penetration is very good. So all in all, what would I use this ammo for? I think it's kind of tailor-made for your medium and smaller whitetail deer, southern whitetail deer. If you're in the southeast, Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, East Texas, stuff like that. We've got smaller deer down here. I'm in East Texas. I think this ammo would really put a hurtin'. Now, if I was going after some bigger bodied stuff, bigger mule deer, northern whitetail, I'd want to go with something that just penetrates a bit deeper for a little extra insurance. But that said, I think it's a really good general purpose deer load. Just maybe not for the big boys up north or out west. If you've used this ammo on game, let me and everyone else know in the comments how it did for you. And check out my website, masonleather.com, and get yourself some leather gear handmade by me just for you. I've been handcrafting leather gear for hunters for over a decade, and I would love to make you something. And there are hundreds of reviews on my website, so you can see what real hunters have to say about their Mason leather gear. And also tons of photos showing all the customizable options, including name, initial, and caliber stamping, as well as wild game designs and more. Everything is handmade by me right here in the USA. I would love to be a part of your hunt through my leather gear. And it helps support this channel, so I can bring you more hunting ammo ballistics gel tests, and lots of other cool stuff in the future. The link will be in the video description and the pinned comment, or you can just type masonleather.com into your web browser.
And click one of these cards for more hunting ammo ballistics gel tests.